On Tech News this week, Mr. Gbenga Adegbiji, General Manager, MDXi, talks on driving data center explosion in Nigeria.
The best we can do is to push and then to do this advocacy, write in the papers and let government understand. The next thing is for regulators to enforce, those regulations. If government that is making the law is also not really enforcing that part of the law that says Nigerian data must reside in Nigeria, then there's nothing that anybody can do. My name is Gbenga Adegbiji. I work with Main Data Nigeria Limited as the general manager. Main Data is a company of MainOne, fully owned subsidiary of MainOne. Before I joined MainOne, the MainOne group, I started with a company called Starcoms Nigeria Limited. I was the network rollout manager for Starcoms. I also work with Ericsson Nigeria Limited for about a year before I joined Airtel. I worked with Airtel for about 4 years, and I was the national rollout manager in charge of fiber optics rollout for the whole nation. And I also had a stint with Smile Communication Nigeria Limited as the first technical manager in Nigeria. And then I joined MainOne about 6 years ago. So MDXi is a fully owned subsidiary of MainOne that is focused on data center and data center development in Nigeria and the West Africa. We have our flagship data center is the Lekki Data Center, and that was commissioned sometimes 2015, January 2015 precisely. And we've been providing cloud and co-location services to financial institutions, banks, oil and gas company, government, and all that. We play a pivotal role in the data center ecosystem in Nigeria. We have the largest co-location data center in West Africa. Our data center is certified as Tier 3, and we also have a lot of international certifications. We have the TIA 942, we have ISO 27001, which deals with data information security and all that. We also have PCI DSS. Let's take banking industry for an example. Banking industry, you have to go to the bank before you can withdraw cash. You have to, and then of course, when the bank closes, you can withdraw cash. You have to wait. Public holiday, you are cashless. Today is different. Today, you can do any transaction, any banking transaction, wherever you are, in Nigeria. So all these things are things that has been enabled by technology generally, and of course, data center is the heart of that. So to drive data center explosion in Nigeria, government need to first of all understand that appreciation. They need to have a good understanding of what data center is and how it can drive the economy. The other thing is government also need to patronize the data center. Today we have so many data of Nigeria, even government officials or government data, let me put it that way, that are hosted outside Nigeria. And this is not encouraging, because what we're doing indirectly is that we're enabling the economy of other countries while our own economy is suffering. So if all the data of Nigeria is resident in Nigeria today, this is going to drive an explosion that we're talking about. There's going to be more jobs that will be created. People will pay less for the content. Government need to encourage this by being at the forefront of this digital revolution, by encouraging data centers or data to be domiciled within the Nigerian data center. The only thing we can do advocacy, we can, do education, we can let the government understand, how this is helping the government, or how not patronizing the local content is actually affecting the economy of Nigeria. But the best we can do is to push and then to do this advocacy, write in the papers and let government understand. The next thing is for regulators to enforce, those regulations. There are data domiciliation regulation in Nigeria. The next thing is enforcement of those data domiciliation. And for instance, if government that is making the law is also not really enforcing that part of the law that says Nigerian data must reside in Nigeria, then there's nothing that anybody can do. The 2.5 billion naira is actually the spend for this year, 2018, for our expansion. When we started the Lekki data center. We started with about 25 million US dollars. That was the initial commitment on the project, and that gave us the entire data center of 600 racks, but fit out for 150 racks. Now, shortly after then, 2015, between 2015 and 2016 and 2017, we spent additional $10 million, which we used to increase the capacity, the fit-out capacity from 150 racks to 300 racks. This year, what we're doing is we're spending $6.8 million, which is the 2.5 million naira, to expand it from 300 to 450 racks. And we estimated about another $3.3 million thereabout to complete the remaining 150 racks to make the entire 600 racks. So this is just the spend. So altogether, the Lekki data center is estimated to cost about 40 million US dollars. And if you look at it in the context of maybe naira and look at investment, that's actually a huge investment. So we are at the forefront of this investment, not only in Nigeria, we also have similar investment in Ghana. We are moving to Ivory Coast, we're moving to Senegal, for instance. Our parent company, MainOne, has cable all the way from Portugal to Nigeria, and then of course now extended to Cameroon. And we have landings in Ghana. We're preparing another landing now in Cote d'Ivoire and then in Senegal. So all the footprints, we actually want to build data center across West Africa, enabling transactions, seamless transaction between the West African countries. Number one is the right of way that I mentioned. Data center cannot work alone. Data center require connectivity to be able to operate. And when you look at businesses today, one of the reasons for us as MDXi, one of the reasons why a lot of financial institutions prefer to host with us is because we leverage the connectivity of our parent company. Our parent company owns submarine cable, and we are also directly connected to 3 other submarine cable that landed in Nigeria directly. We are also the center for the internet exchange, so we have internet exchange within our premises. Now, we also have over 300 or 400 kilometers of metro fiber in Lagos. So what that means is that our data center, we have the upstream and then we have the downstream connectivity. What does that do to a customer, a bank, for instance? A bank readily can host with us, and then they have access to international connectivity as part of the bundle. That's number one. They also have metro connectivity to connect to all their branches in Lagos and outside Lagos, for instance. So for them, it is a one-stop shop. So if I want to look at some of the challenges we've been having, is ability to extend our cable, our connectivity that actually enable data center to work readily. You know, so many state governments, for instance, will not want to give you right of way because, like I said, they believe it's a revenue of the government, and so they put a lot of restriction rather than actually allowing it, you know, to allowing you to build and then, you know, reaping the benefits of the development of the ecosystem. That's number one. The other challenge is power. Generally, data center, you have to run 24/7. 24/7, and it has to be built such that a maintenance on one part of your infrastructure should not affect the data center running. The data center must run 100% of the time. Now, power is critical, and power is a critical resource. As a matter of fact, power cost is about 60% of the total cost of operating the data center. Yes. Now, if you don't have reliable power, it's going to be a big challenge. For us, we've been able to work around that. Traditionally, financial sectors, they are the leading sector when it comes to investment in IT. They do that because a lot of time they want to drive, now, number one, they want to drive efficiency, they want to improve customer experience, and then, of course, they want to improve their own margin. When you look at the FinTech is a disruptive technology in the financial sector that takes the traditional, it has actually turned around the traditional banking, for instance, or financial institution into something else. Today, you make you on your phone, you make transfer, you do all your banking transaction without having to go to the bank. Now, when you're talking about data center is the heart of FinTech solutions. We provide a storage where all those banking transactions are done. We provide the security that is needed for those transactions. One of the things that is very, very critical to FinTech is security of that transaction. Data center empowers the FinTech. And I think FinTech should not just look at data center as one of the things that they need. They should actually look at it as the heart. And some of them, they understand how and the importance of data center to their businesses. I think data center should be seen and be recognized by government as critical national asset. It should be protected. The investment in data centers should be protected. Government should come in, see data centers as enabling platform for the next digital economy. I call it the compulsory future. What I say compulsory future, I said you can't be left behind. Very soon, people will not have to drive their own car by themselves. You don't even have to do, there's going to be so many information that even when you go to the hospital, they have everything about you. The enabling platform for that, the underlying infrastructure for that is the data center. So government needs to, number one, see that and give the adequate protection. Let me give you an example. A lot of, not even a lot, 99% of what we use in building data center in Nigeria today is imported. They're all imported. 99%, they're all imported. Now, when you look at that, about 2 years ago, when we have this issue of naira depreciation and all that, we have to pay more. We have to, get more naira to be able to get some of this thing imported. So I see government. One of the things that government can do to encourage us is to say, look, because this is a critical national asset that is going to drive the next economy, concessions should be given. As we give to some manufacturing environment and all that as a fast-moving consumer good, concession should be given to say, look, we can sell dollar for you at this rate. A lot of time we buy at market rate. The other thing, yes, we buy at black market rate. The other thing is that government themselves, like I said, need to be at the forefront of patronizing local data center. And I'm sure this is going to be better for the country in the end. I want to say that before now, people have reasons why they can go out, to go and host their data outside the country, because of reliability, security, and all that. You don't need that anymore today. There are data centers in Nigeria today that can give the same service, in fact, better quality of service than you can get from outside the country. We also provide platform that is cheaper and that is cost effective for anybody to run on our platform. And so I want to say to businesses, decision makers, to consider the opportunity that is here in Nigeria today and take advantage of this platform and get themselves ready for the digital economy to come. My name is Gbenga Adegbiji. I'm the general manager for MDXi, a data center company of MainOne, and you are watching Rave Tech on Rave TV.